Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council. I'm excited tonight to present the fiscal 2020 budget. And I don't often say that about budgets, but in thinking about where we were and where we are today, it's been a great process. And by having the Town Council and my office work together, I think we've made significant achievement over the last 3 years. I think many of you recall in fiscal year 2017, the town was using $850,000 of free cash in its operating budget. That is no longer a problem. We are no longer using free cash in the operating budget, but it is allowing us now to use free cash to buy capital items, and that's a huge improvement because we can buy those capital items without borrowing. In fiscal year 2018, I think everyone is aware that we were concerned about losing the landfill royalty money from the landfill, and that was going to bring disaster upon the town. But working together, the Town Council and I were able to eliminate that $920,000 of Casella money from the operating budget. And in fact, no layoffs occurred, no disaster happened. And I'm very proud to be able to say, by working together, we are no longer dependent on landfill royalties to run this town. I think that's a huge achievement, and I appreciate the board's work in that issue. In fiscal year 2019, we had the issue of the new charter school opening in Sturbridge. Again, hundreds of thousands of dollars of added cost to the town. Again, working together, the Town Council and my office, we're able to deal with that issue, and we are no longer in a crisis situation as a result to that charter school. We've met that task, and we're able to get ourselves in a situation where we're not under a crisis. So the fiscal 2020 budget is our first year in the years that I've been here where we have a sound and strong financial budget that is responsible and does not use any short-term revenues to balance the budget. So key points: responsible fiscal management. That's what this budget does. It's responsible fiscal management, and it makes sure that we spend money appropriately. Controlled government spending. We're not spending wildly. It's a budget that simply meets the needs of the people of Southbridge. Improving public safety, I'm going to talk about that aspect, and the Town Council is working on that particular issue, and we're going to talk a little bit about it as we get into the budget process. Developing a road improvement fund. I'm going to get into this issue. This is an issue that has been extremely important to members of the Town Council, and in fact, extremely important to all the citizens in Southbridge. It's probably the most talked about issue, improving town roads. Centralizing public safety dispatch. This is an issue the Town Council and I have been working on the last couple of years to be able to improve the services we provide in terms of responding to emergency calls. And we're going to centralize our public dispatch system, and I think it's going to be a real improvement for public safety. Meeting the needs of the citizens. This budget doesn't go too far. It's not an extravagant budget, but it simply meets the needs of the people of the town. And it builds a stronger future. You're going to see why that is. This is a budget that really, I think, leads us in a real positive way into the future. Last year and the last couple of years, we've had this as a vision statement. I want to read it. Southbridge must be fiscally responsible, have a budget in place that meets the needs of its citizens, and the vision to look strategically at the long-term infrastructure of this community. The goals and objectives that this budget sets out for: modest improvement in current services, establishing a road improvement fund to improve town roads, finalize the development of the Southbridge Central Dispatch for emergency services, improve public safety, a quicker response to fires and ambulance calls, and we're going to be utilizing a SAFER grant to do that. Reduce the need for budget transfers and to properly fund departments. This is an issue we've talked about in the budget process. Why are some budget line items underfunded, and how do we deal with that particular situation? Work with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to improve funding to our school district, enhance the quality of education for our children, and ensure that the citizens have confidence in the education provided to our students. Continue to utilize free cash for one-time capital purchases, reducing the need to borrow for smaller capital purchases, and build on and strengthen our 6-year capital improvement plan. Most of all, a nice side benefit, I think we're going to talk about later, is increased funding to our Stabilization Fund, which is our town savings account. Prepare to meet the challenges of the future. Now, today's situation and the big issue, I think, one of the biggest issues of this budget is the current situation with town roads. People in Southbridge all the time ask us, why are the roads in the condition they are? Well, it's really clear. We get about $500,000 in Chapter 90 money, which is state funds that they give to the municipality in order to improve our roads. That doesn't go anywhere near close to the amount we need to maintain our roads. $500,000 doesn't even keep our roads at the current levels, but that's the state funding that comes down. As of today, there is no local tax dollars being used to fund roads through the town budget. This budget has a strategy for the future, and it's a strategy that I know that I've talked with many councilors about. Particular Councilor Steves and I have had this discussion numerous times. How do we move forward and start going down the path to improve town roads? This budget adds $100,000 to the operating budget in order to start a process of funding local roads by using some local tax dollars as well. So in fiscal year 2020, we're going to add $100,000, and this is where the town council and I are going to have to work together over the next 5 years to continuously build the road improvement fund by $100,000 each year over the next 5 years. Now, what will this do? This long-term plan will double our funding at the end of 5 years for the repair replacement of town roads and gradually increases spending in each fiscal year. We had a February 2012 pavement management plan or a study that stated that it would cost about $1 million a year to simply maintain our current town road pavement conditions. At the end of 5 years, the $500,000 in Chapter 90, adding $500,000 of town money, will get close to being able to just maintain roads at their current standards. Now, let's be clear about this. This is a good step, and we're going to move in the right direction. While this will have a positive impact on local roads, it will not resolve the fact that it will cost millions of dollars to update our infrastructure to a level that we would all find acceptable. So we're on the right path. We're going to move forward. I think taxpayers will love this, that we're actually stepping up to the plate and starting to deal with that road issue. Now, because we have a stable budget this year, I think this is the time to begin that plan. Another big public safety item, I talked a little bit at the opening, is what we are calling a new central dispatch. Right now, our fire dispatch and police department dispatch are in 2 different locations. Last year, we took a step to start consolidating that under a combined central dispatch of police and fire. Last year, we added a couple of dispatchers, and we started the foundation of it. We put money aside for infrastructure. This year, we're going to finalize the investment in that plan. We'll be hiring 2 more dispatchers, $50,000 each. We're going to have a lead person who leads that dispatch center. We're going to give them a little bit of a stipend. The per diem impact coverage of $40,000, it means when people are on vacation or people are sick, we have to have somebody to replace those people. So we need some money in there for times when people are in and out of the department. And then health insurance costs, of course, for both employees is about $30,800. So this budget adds about $180,800 to finalize central dispatch, and we're excited about seeing that happen because that has some tremendous benefits for the town in terms of improving the dispatch process, but it also does something else. It has a huge impact on our fire department. We've talked about this. Right now, we have 6 firemen on a shift. 5 are firefighters, and we have 1 dispatcher. What this is going to allow us to do is take that 1 officer who's on dispatch. We have 4 different shifts, so it's 4 officers, 4 firemen, and going to allow them to be put back onto the shifts. So that gives us six firefighters per shift. Now, again, we're not adding any new staff at the fire department. We're simply reassigning the dispatch people back to the regular fireman line duty, and they'll be able to give us better coverage. Now, the benefit of this is that it will allow us potentially to do more ambulance calls, and ambulance calls are a revenue-generating program for the town. So in fact, we may capture more revenue because if a second ambulance call comes in and we're busy, we have to give that to another town, and they make the revenue off that call. Now, we don't know what that revenue will be now, so we're not adding any revenue to the budget yet, but we're going to look at the history over that over the next couple of years, and then as we see that increased revenue come in, we can book that as a revenue, and that will help to offset this program. Okay? This is going to also improve our ability to respond to fires as well, because instead of having 5-minute shift, we'll now have 6 people per shift. Now, on top of that, the Town Council has recently discussed the issue of applying for a SAFER grant. A SAFER grant is a federal grant where the federal government is trying to help communities all throughout the country to improve public safety through a grant process to make it easier for us to hire additional firemen. This town council believes very strongly that we need to improve public safety, and they recently voted to apply for this particular grant. Now, how does this work? We would be adding 4 additional firefighters to our fire department, 1 per shift. Okay, the cost of that, if you look in column 1 here, the personnel costs, in other words, the labor costs, are $218,464 a year. The benefits are $93,356. So the total cost of 4 firemen for a year is $311,820. Now, the next line is what's important. In this year's budget, we would have to put in approximately $77,955, which is 25% of the cost of 4 firemen in this year's budget. The federal government is going to pick up $233,865 of the cost of these firemen. So this is a 3-year program that's going to help the town of Southbridge and protects the taxpayers from that big shift in hiring 4 people all at once. The same is true in fiscal year 2021, the second year. Again, they're going to pick up 75% of the cost of those firemen, and the town will only pick up 25%. In the third year, the town will then have to pay $202,683. That's 65% of the total cost of the firemen. Now, what's good about this is we feel that there's some things happening in town that we're going to get new revenues from. Solar fields that are coming online, the medical marijuana facility, we see added revenues coming into the town, and we believe that some of those revenues are going to offset this cost in the long term. So we see that as a positive. After the third year, the town will then have to pay the entire cost, that $311,000 or so of funds, the town will pick up that cost. And that will then, as I was telling you, we had 6 firefighters a shift. This will give us 7. Now, if you talk to the fire chief and the deputy fire chief, under fire standards throughout the country, for the amount of population size, we should have at least 8 and really more like 10 firefighters at one time on a shift. So Southbridge is going to be at the sort of national firefighter requirements, but we're moving in a good direction, and this is going to add improved public safety to the citizens of the town. Also, it's not just a firefighter, they also do medical work, so there'll be ambulance drivers as well. Now, to get into the overall budget, this next slide is really important. This is something we call the state cherry sheet. This is all the revenues that the town gets from the state of Massachusetts. You'll see that in 2019, we got a little over $25 million. In fiscal year 27, we got $26,924,000. This year, we got an increase from state government of $1,689,974. That is huge compared to what we got last year, and I'll talk about that a little later. The biggest amount of increase here was through Chapter 70 money, where you'll see the difference between fiscal year 19 and 20 is $1,214,910. That's because the state government under Governor Baker and Polito are trying to increase funding for school systems that need it and trying to add more money, particularly to cities and communities that are poorer in nature. So you'll see a big increase this year for our district, which will help our school system improve. UGGA is just unrestricted general government funds. It's 98 grand. The state gives us, we can spend any way we want. Last year, we had a big issue with charter schools, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But in fiscal year 19, we only got a reimbursement of $157,286 as reimbursement for the kids we sent to the charter school. This year, that number has jumped tremendously to $540,982, or an increase of $380,000,696. Now, later, I'm going to show you that the assessments went up with charter schools, but it's still much better than had we not gotten this significant increase. Minor revenues, we lost about $6,846. Not too much to worry about there. Now, this goes to the impact of charter schools. Many of you heard last year about the big crisis that charter school was coming in. It was going to cost us a lot of money. It was diverting money away from our school system to the charter school. And this demonstrates that. Last year, the charter school assessment in 2019 was $949,981. This year, in fiscal 2020, it's $1,251,042. There's about 17 new students this year that are going to go into that charter school, and that's because the charter school added a new grade. So there's going to be kids going in. But a big difference here is the assessment of the reimbursement from the state. In 2019, the reimbursement was only $157,286, but look at the reimbursement this year, $540,982. So in fact, the cost of the charter school this year actually decreased to us for about $82,635. So that's a decrease in the overall cost to the town of the charter school this year, in spite of the fact more kids are going. Chapter funding, this is where I talked to you about the big difference from last year to this year. Last year, we got a $69,420 increase over fiscal year 18. It was nothing. As you know, we basically did not give an increase to the school committee last year or to the school system. This year, it went up to $1,214,910. A tremendous increase in the Chapter 70 money resulted in a net revenue gain between the 2 years of $1,145,490. That's going to go directly to our school system for them to improve the educational services in the town of Southbridge. Now, there's another set of expenses that, we give a bunch of money to our school district, but there's a set of expenses that are paid for by the town budget, not directly given to the school system. I want to talk about those because they're important. Health insurance, workers' compensation, property liability insurance, pension, those are all costs that are paid for by the town side of the budget. So yes, we're funding this money on behalf of the school district, but it doesn't go to their budget. It's not given to them, so it doesn't look like they're getting the money from the town. But in fact, they're getting $153,000 from town government. That's an added expense on top of whatever we give them directly. And remember that number because I'm going to come back to it in a little bit. So to kind of give you the bigger picture of how we fund our school system, I developed this chart, and you'll see the column to the left side, you'll see a section of numbers that describe the money we're giving to the school district. I told you we're getting the $82,635 was extra money from the charter school. We're going to give that to the Southbridge Public School District. $101,288, that's less money we have to pay from school choice that would come back to the town budget. $100,000 is added money from the town budget that I'm proposing that we give to the school district. That's a total of $283,923 of direct funds that we will be giving on top of the state funds for Chapter 70 to the school district. Okay? Then, I told you about that 153 number to remember. Those are the expenses we pay for out of the town budget. So in total, again, to the school district, we'll be increasing funding to education by about $437,833 from the town side of the budget, okay? The middle column now, if you look at the very top number, $1,214,910, that's the amount of money we're getting from the state government for Chapter 70 funding. We added $283,000, and that comes to a total of $1,498,833. That's the direct money we're giving to our school system for them to pay for their expenses, okay? The third column, it shows again the state funding, the $1,214,910. You add the total 437, which is 1.63%. That town contribution is 1.63% of our town budget. So it's a significant amount of money from our town budget that we're giving directly to the school system. You add that together, that includes the $153,000 in the total contribution to the school district. And I mean, I'm just talking school district, not charter schools, not choice schools, just the public school district, is $1,652,743. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to give town council some options, right? So a big goal of mine, quite frankly, in this budget, it was to fund this budget with no more than a 2.5% tax increase, which, as we all know, is the Proposition 2.5. It's been a tough 3 years. We've had to overcome some very difficult things. Taxes were slightly above that because we had some increased assessment ability. This budget, on the top line, you'll see my recommended budget. Recommended budget is for the fiscal year 19. You'll see the school budget at $26,786. We're increasing the budget for the school district by $1,483,833 for a proposed school budget of $285,568. Now, you'll see next in the line is the proposed tax levy. This results in a 2.5% tax increase to the town. That's all the cost of the entire budget, but including the school system at that level. Now, some councilors, and I know the school system will be talking about we need more. So I gave a couple of options here for your consideration during the budget process, same as I did last year. If we were to raise the tax rate another 0.5% to 3%, we would be able to give the school district, if you look in your dollar increase, an additional $105,000. If we wanted to give them an additional $210,000 in order to do that with no other changes, we would have to increase the tax rate to 3.5%. So you'll see that it's not a lot of dollars, but it does have a significant impact on the tax rate. But I wanted you to see that. I wanted to give you the option, as we're discussing this budget, some potential options for the town council to consider. Now, this is basically just a form our town assessor drafts it up. And I want to take just a second to thank some people. All of my department heads have worked tremendously hard to put this budget together, and they've done so in a way to make sure that they put forward the most important programs up front so that we could fund the key things first. But I have 3 people who in particular worked their tails off on this budget process. Our town finance director is awesome. She does a great job. I couldn't do this without her. Karen Harnoy actually takes and implements and puts together all the information that we work on. We evaluate every town budget. It has to be evaluated by me and her as a team. We put this budget together, and I want to thank her for the work she does. Mindy Forner, I hope is the proper way to say the last name. I want to thank her. She's our treasurer collector. She works on a lot of our healthcare numbers and works with us to make sure we review. She's also she screens every word I write to make sure I have all the right information in it. So I want to thank her as well. And then the last guy is the guy that always puts together all these great charts in terms of the levies and stuff. Will Canoyer, he's our town assessor. He helps to put this together. I can't thank this team enough for the work they've done, not just in this year's budget, but over the last 4 years. They're awesome, and they've met the challenges of this town and done so in a fantastic way. So again, you'll see here, and this is where I have to use a couple of words specifically, the 2020 projected tax levy is $20,938,000. The 2019 tax levy is $21,124,000. So the gross increase of projected tax levy is $813,447, or about a 3.85% increase. Now, my key words, and I'm going to keep the signs from going up, is that this is, to get down to 2.5%, you'll see the next line in red. It says less new growth, $284,990. That new growth is important because that happens through the year, and that doesn't have an impact on current taxpayers. It's a result of new construction or additions. That's new growth. That's not the regular taxation on a regular individual home or individual business. That gives us a net 2.5% tax increase on citizens. That's the impact of the budget that I'm recommending. We'll also put together forms for the option number 1 that I told you about, which is an additional $105,000. What impact that would have on the levy and on the tax rate, you can see that all here as well. The same holds true with option number 2, so you have all the information to be able to make the decisions that you'd like in terms of the school budget. This is our whole revenue projection budget. This shows the added revenues that we're getting from various places, including the tax levy, which is a significant revenue increase that we see there. But also you're going to see what I talked about before, the charter school reimbursement. You'll see a 243.95% increase. That's the additional money I told you about with the charter school reimbursement, that $500-something thousand number. So that's really, really critical. Then we've had small increases throughout various areas, but this gives us the whole picture in terms of the revenues for the town. Now, as you know, when you do budget, revenues have to equal expenses to have a balanced budget. That's exactly what we have next. We have the expense side of the budget. Now, here you're going to see a couple of increases. You're going to see the police department budget that has gone up significantly because that's where the new dispatchers are. That's where the cost of that $180,000 new dispatchers are. So their budget is higher than normally what we see. You're also going to see a line that's a little bit past halfway down. It's called articles. That article line is where the $100,000 for the roads are. So that's where we're putting the road money. Now, it's not a $100,000 increase because some money has come out of that line, but you'll see that that's another significant increase in terms of the percentage as well. Whoops, I'm on the wrong one. That should be on the next, that's the next slide. I apologize. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm sorry. This is the slide I was talking about, the special articles. That's where the road money is. It's a little more halfway down. You'll see it. That's where you're going to see the increase. Now, I want to point something out here that's really important, and you'll see it in red at the very bottom. You'll see that this is the general government operating budget. So this is the budget of all the different departments. You'll notice it's a 3.86% increase. Well, given the police department numbers and the money for the roads, that's not too high. But in effect, it should be 1% lower than that. And the reason is that it's written in red below. There are 26.2 pay periods in fiscal year 2020, or 262 workdays for all employees, instead of 26 pay periods or 260 workdays in 2019. This adds approximately 1% to the budget. So we have a couple of extra days in the work year this year in terms of this fiscal year budget. So that's increasing the budget, the operating budget, by 1%. So it's really not like it's an extra spending. It's just a mere fact that there's 2 more work days in the budget process. Okay, that'll show you. Now you'll see some larger increases in some small departments. In some small departments with a very small budget, if you add $1,000, it gives you these large percentage tax increases. But it's very small in terms of dollars. The big budget departments are your police department, your fire department, your DPW, and your health department. Those are generally your bigger town departments. And in most of those, with the exception of police, they're pretty modest. Now, there's a number of expenses beyond the town's control, things that no matter what we think, we can't do a heck of a lot about. And that's the insurance category with group health and life insurance, property casualty, workers' comp, unemployment, retirement costs. Those are kind of fixed numbers that are given to us, and there's not a lot we can do. I do want to comment, though, about the group health and life insurance. Mindy and I and Karen have attended meetings of a area grouping of towns, an insurance group, to look at potential options to consider leaving Maya, which provides our health insurance now. We did that because we were looking to see, is there a cheaper way to provide the same quality of insurance that we do our employees? I think that kind of puts some pressure on Maya to keep the rates low. So this year, the increase in group health insurance is 0.50. That's unheard of. And that's a result, I think, of that, us attending those meetings. I want to thank Mindy in particular and Karen for joining me in attending those meetings. But usually, the health insurance costs, as you know, they go up by over 5%. So 0.50 is incredible in terms of our cost for health insurance. And then, of course, debt service is another line item. The cost of debt is in the budget. It goes up by whatever it goes up. We have not added any increased debt, really. Now, I think this is one of the things that I'm really proud about. Most of you understand we have something called a Stabilization Fund. And that Stabilization Fund is a savings account that the town has in case of major emergencies. One of the things that stabilization account does, though, it helps in terms of our bond rating. And when auditors look at this account, they look to see, are you being responsible? Now, if you look at this account, even though we've had a difficult 4 years, we've had some struggles. We had the charter school. We had the issues with the free cash and with the landfill. You'll see that in the additions in fiscal year 2016, we added $275,000 to stabilization. In fiscal year 17, we added $300,000 to stabilization. Fiscal year 18, $125,000, and that's only because we add a lot of money for the Munis system. And this year, the proposed amount from free cash that we're proposing to go into the stabilization account is an additional $300,000. You look at the beginning fiscal 2016 year at $2,394,699. And you look at the ending balance at the end of fiscal year 2019, we're looking $3,546,814. That is a huge increase. We've added about over $1 million to our stabilization fund. That is a tremendous accomplishment in spite of the fact we've had difficult years. So it shows auditors that we are moving forward in a responsible way. We've not had to take any money out of stabilization for a number of years. That's been tremendous. The auditors would like you to have at least 5% of your budget in stabilization. This reflects a 6.2% percentage of our budget that's in our stabilization fund. So this is I'm really proud of this because I think it shows really good financial planning over the last 4 years, and it really protecting every spare dollar we have to make sure we put it in a savings account to protect the long-term interests of the town. So the future, the next steps of what we need to do. Well, the town must continue to set aside that $100,000 every year for the roads if we want to get to the plan that we have to improve town roads. Police and fire departments, we need, now that we have all the revenue, we have all the staff, we need to finalize the actual construction of the central dispatch, get that done. We already have a contractor working with our police department to build that central dispatch. We need to get that finalized. I know the chief has already built the regulations that runs and operates this. They already have a good plan in place, and I think we'll see a central dispatch that we're all very proud of. DPW, this is an area where we need to work on in the future years. You know, we're trying to add money to the roads and stuff, but DPW is the one department where I think we need to really look at staff in the future, especially with the stormwater permitting it's going to happen in the future. So there, we're going to look at increasing staff to better maintain recreational areas in towns, our parks and playgrounds, and also to maintain roads. Provide additional funding to all town departments in order to maintain current town services. Because of the fiscal struggles that we went through, we gave 2% or increases for personnel costs for each department, but we essentially gave 0 increases to many town budgets, which really, when you don't give an increase to a town budget with the cost of inflation, you're actually giving them less money than the year before. And we've done that for the last 4 years. We've said, departments, okay, you can add the money for the labor contracts, but don't add $1 more. Departments have generally just taken cut after cut after cut. From now on, we have to at least give them enough money to maintain the current services that we have. Provide operating funds for other post-employment benefits. This is one of the issues that we were using Casella money for. We may use it one more time. We have some savings still in the Casella fund. We're probably going to be looking to add money one more time from that Casella fund, and then what we're looking at is the solar revenue coming in. It's supposed to be open this summer. The solars will get on track, and then eventually we're going to substitute that solar money. Will go into our budget to help pay for the OPEB costs. What we're trying to do there is build the OPEB trust fund in order to increase that fund over time to meet some of our unfunded liability when it comes to insurances. Just so people understand, OPEB, what that is the cost of employees when they retire. The town still has to pick up a percentage of their insurance costs. That's funded every year in an annual way. We need to build up a fund like a pension fund where some of that money and the interest actually helps pay down that liability. So that's what we're trying to do. All towns across the state are trying to make improvements in this. Some towns are farther than others, but we're doing very well, and we want to keep on building up that trust fund. Free cash and long-term capital improvement plan. Free cash is being utilized for one-time capital projects. This over the long term is saving taxpayers money from not having to borrow money for these capital items. The process also protects and can improve our bond rating. We need to continue to implement our plan within available resources. Borrowing for large capital projects such as equipment and infrastructure must be considered. Not right away, but at some point in time, the fire department's going to need a new ladder truck. That's well over $1 million. At some point in time, we're going to have to think about borrowing money for that purpose. Also, I think we all know before us is the issue of a new fire station, and we need to decide, the town voters are going to have to decide if we want to move forward or not with a new fire station. But if we do, that's going to be an area where we're going to have to borrow money. What is good is that we have not been borrowing money over the last number of years. We have plenty of capacity to borrow. The real question is, what can taxpayers afford, and what will taxpayers citizens vote to approve in terms of a new firehouse? So with that, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the budget. I really believe this sets up a good foundation for us to work from. I know it's going to go through the committee process, and I look forward to answering all the questions of the committee and working with you if there's any potential changes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the council.